What's up, everybody? Welcome to this latest edition of FM Soapbox. If you're not familiar with this series, this is basically a series where I just share my opinions, whether it be something related to collecting or something related to social issues, whatever it may be, because after all, my channel is called Franklyn McInnis, not Funko News. There is more going on here on my channel than just that. My channel is really about who I am as a person, and I think the Soapbox series especially allows me to basically convey who I am as an individual. So this series I think is pretty important. There have been times where I wondered if it kind of fit in with my channel as a whole, but I don't think that has to be necessary, that everything has to necessarily connect perfectly. But in this case, this video is actually focused on collecting, and in particular my collecting philosophy. So you see the phrase here, which is a phrase, if you've been with my channel for a while, you've heard me say this at some point: can't have it all. And this is something that I keep in my mind constantly. So again, this video is going to focus on my personal collecting philosophy. So I'm not trying to tell anybody else what they should do, how they should approach collecting. This is all about me. Even if you hear me say the word you, that's just out of habit. But really, I'm putting the focus on myself here. Okay, so let's be clear about that before I get into this. Now, you may have heard me say this before, especially if you've been with the channel for a while, that the first pop figure that I ever got was Morgan from The Walking Dead. That's the figure that really got me into it. And actually, it probably would have been another figure, but when I went to GameStop, I did go to GameStop initially because that's where I started seeing pop figures on a regular basis, and that's what got me somewhat interested in them. But I went to GameStop. It was the day after Christmas 2015, so it was very busy, a whole lot of returns going on. So I ended up not buying a pop from there. If I had bought a pop from there, my first pop probably would have been Chucky from Child's Play. But because it was so packed there, I went over to Toys R Us and I ended up getting Morgan from The Walking Dead. He is one of my favorite characters from The Walking Dead. And when I initially bought this pop, I knew that I was going to become a collector. I'd already done a little bit of research, but yeah, it was on once I got this pop figure. And initially, I did not realize how many different characters Funko made. So I started to look around, and then I realized, I'm like, wow, they got the bank robber Joker, they got Winter Soldier with the mask, Bane, Leonidas from 300. These are just a couple of examples of those figures that I saw in doing my research. And then I realized how much they cost. I realized that they're not available on store shelves anymore, and to buy them secondhand was very pricey. So that was definitely an eye-opener. But I did not get into collecting to collect for value, and still to this day, value is not something that I really stress over very much. It does affect me as a collector. Of course, it affects all of us as collectors because it does affect the chance of you getting a figure or not, sometimes. But yeah, overall, it's something that I really don't stress over. I like collecting mainly because I like to be surrounded by things that I'm a fan of, things that remind me of movies that I like, things that remind me of comics that I like, things that, remind me of my childhood. So, definitely going into my collecting philosophy, that's something that I keep in mind, that it really is about that connection that I have with what these pops represent. Now, it was a bit of a heartbreaker, I gotta be honest, when I realized that, wow, they actually have a Notorious B.I.G. pop figure, and then I saw the price on that. And honestly, at that time period, when I first saw this figure, it was actually almost, I wouldn't say quite half, but nearly half the value that it goes for now. And still, that just seemed astronomical to me, especially being a new collector. So I was a little bit heartbroken by that. Of course, I put it on my grail list, but I also kind of sat it aside in my mind because I'm like, I just can't do it. I can't spend that much for one figure. So that's where that philosophy started to come into my mind, that phrase, can't have it all. I started to get that in my mind, and I think it has really helped me to be happier as a collector because I don't stress as much. I realize that I can't have it all. Now, something else I had to kind of put myself in check on is I initially, because I am such a big Harley Quinn fan, I was like, you know what, I may try to get every Harley Quinn figure that comes out. And that's something that I actually attempted for a long time, and I still buy Harley Quinn figures sometimes. But I got another wake-up call because a figure came along and I saw this and I was like, okay, yeah, this seems almost impossible because it's limited to 144 pieces. It was only made available to Hot Topic employees, and that is this silver Harley Quinn that you see here. And because it is so rare and so difficult to get, again, you basically had to be a Hot Topic employee to get this initially. Yeah, the second market value on it is through the roof. The pop price guide value is listed at $450, and I have actually seen it listed around that amount or even more. So again, keeping in mind that I can't have it all really helped me, with that, because I thought, the more I thought about it, I'm like, even though I'm a fan of Harley Quinn, I don't really need to have every single Harley Quinn figure that comes out. I mean, I'm a fan. I'm going to be a fan regardless, even if I don't have any of her pop figures. So, can't have it all. And then also, I started to be more discerning about what I collect, especially lately. I've been very more critical of what I'm possibly going to pick up. So you see these Harley Quinn figures here. The one all the way to the left is just not true to the comic book artwork. This was a 2-pack that was exclusive with Hot Topic. Now they got the Joker pretty accurate, but with Harley Quinn, the hair color is not right, the skin color is not right. I don't know really why they made those changes, but to me it just doesn't scream out Harley Quinn, so that ended up being a pass for me. The I believe this is the new 52 Harley Quinn here in the middle. I've never been a big fan of that costume on her or that color scheme, and then I saw the paint jobs on it as well, and this was another Hot Topic exclusive. And seeing the paint jobs up close, I was just like, don't need it. I'm passing, because it just wasn't a good quality figure for me. And then the animated series Harley Quinn, to me it just looks way too similar to the common and other figures I already had of her, so again, that was another pass. So not only can I not have it all, I also realized I don't need it all. Now, I know some people may say, this is all first world problems and you really don't need any of it. I don't completely agree with that, and I will talk about that in a moment, why I don't completely agree with that. I will basically break that down for you. And some of you that have been with the channel for a long time, you may know where I'm going with that, but I'll get to that in a moment here. So, there have been some other figures, like you see these examples here, figures that I missed out on that, yes, I absolutely would like to have in my collection, but are they must-haves? No, I really don't like to call anything a must-have. I know that's a term that people don't always necessarily mean that when they say it. It can be very hyperbolic, but I try to stay away from that phrase just because I think it can affect my mindset, where I may start stressing over the figures, and I really don't want to do that. Yeah, these figures here are figures that I've missed out on. With the Michael Jackson Smooth Criminal, that's a figure that came out well before I started collecting. I have had some close opportunities with the trade on that figure, but it didn't pan out, which is okay. And I actually think it's a positive thing to have some figures out there like this that I haven't obtained. Maybe I could possibly get them one day, and that just, to me, keeps my interest up, my motivation up as a collector. Maybe, down the line, maybe I will work out a trade for some of these, or maybe the prices will drop on some of these, which, by the way, since I don't collect for value, I actually collect for the figures themselves. If Funko ever were to lose popularity, that doesn't bother me. A lot of people talk this Beanie Baby talk. They say, oh, that's Funko one day, this and that. But you know what? If Funko, like I said, ever lost popularity and the value dropped on the figures, I'm going to be doing some shopping, because again, I collect for the figures themselves and the characters they represent and the memories that they bring up. So that would not necessarily be a bad thing for me. Of course, I would feel bad for the company, but I would be happy to be able to get a lot of the figures that I had missed out on previously. And of course, there are some recent figures as well, some more recent figures that look amazing that I would really like to have in my collection, but I know they're very difficult to get. So again, I'm not going to stress over them. Now, I do want to be clear. I tell people all the time, don't give up, go after what you want. And I do have that same mentality, but at the same time, I don't have that mentality to the point that I'm going to be upset and I'm going to whine and complain if I miss out on something. No, I don't want to be that way personally. That's something I really don't want to do. So, yeah, there's some awesome figures out there. Like I said, these Infinity War Chrome figures, I think they look really incredible, but I know that they've been very tough to come by. So if I don't get them, if I never get them, it's okay. I will live on. Now, the main reason I want to do this video, at some point, I did allow my patrons to vote based off a couple of topics, and they did go with this one, and I'm really glad they chose this one. I mean, I was going to leave it up to them, but I'm really glad that this one is the one they went for, because San Diego Comic-Con is on the way, and Funko is going to have over 60 exclusive items, just like they did last year. And I know that some collectors are going to be stressing. And yeah, I mean, the convention can be a stressful time, especially because with the websites, not everything gets posted at once, and you have to kind of stay on your toes. As far as the Funko shop is concerned, you definitely have to stay on your toes. Even with the stores, it can be kind of stressful because, you know, stores get limited quantities, and then some stores, not every store, you know, gets their pops at once. Also, I mean, a lot of things happen, so it can be a stressful time. But again, me keeping that phrase in mind, can't have it all, and also don't need it all. You know, those phrases just really help me out to kind of settle down some, basically. So looking forward to this. I am looking forward to this convention, but I'm not going to completely stress over it the way that I'm sure some other people will. Now, also, I've learned some things from past conventions. For example, last year, Baxter Stockman came out. He was shared exclusively with shared exclusive with Walmart, and that's the one that you see here on the left. And then there was this very rare version on the right, the glow-in-the-dark Baxter Stockman. Now, I never ended up getting Baxter Stockman, the one on the left. I probably will eventually. Walmart still has it listed at times, and I have enough nostalgia with that character where I may pick him up, even though I don't have the Ninja Turtles. I do have Casey Jones, but you know, it might be nice to pick up Baxter Stockman at some point if I get the opportunity, but it's not like a must-have. Again, I'm not a big fan of that phrase. But you see here, the glow-in-the-dark Baxter Stockman, that one was limited to like 300 pieces, so I didn't even think that was really in the realm of possibility to get. And I almost worked out a trade for it at one point, and I'm so glad that trade fell through because, you know, here a year later now, this figure, even though it's a rare figure, the value on it has plummeted. So instead of paying or basically trading away a figure that has become much more valuable than this figure is, you know, I still have that other figure. And now if I wanted to get this glow-in-the-dark Baxter Stockman, I could find it at a pretty decent price on eBay because, like I said, the value has absolutely plummeted on it. And that's not a bad thing because now if I really want it, then I can get it. So waiting sometimes actually does really pay off for me. Also, something else I've learned with conventions is, even though I put a list together, I have a list in mind, that does change. There are some figures I'm just not able to get, and then some other figures that I initially wasn't interested in that I end up picking up, and then I basically grow this fondness for them over time. So Scareglow is a good example of that. Initially, I was not interested in this figure, but once I saw it at Barnes & Noble, I was like, wow, that is a cool looking figure and it's glow in the dark. I'm going for it. So I picked it up. Now, if I was collecting for value, I definitely would be patting myself on the back because the value for this figure has started to go up in the triple digit range, but it doesn't even really matter with that so much. The thing is that I initially wasn't going to worry about Masters of the Universe, but once they started releasing these new figures, I really got into them, and now I do have most of the recent ones, or I think almost all the recent ones except for the Merman Chase. But you know, having a Scareglow along with those other figures, I'm so happy that I have him. So again, when it comes to conventions, you know, plans may change, and I don't think that's always a bad thing. Now, obviously, you may miss out on some figures that do become high value, and I know that can sting. It happens to all of us, but for me personally, I mainly try to focus on what I have more so than what I missed out on. Basically, you know, I try to keep it glass half full mentality. And this is a good example of that. These are some figures that I really wasn't sure if I was going to be able to get into my collection. And now I have all of these, you know, and you know, of course, there are others. I already showed you there are some that I've missed out on, but I'm really happy to have the ones that I do. And a big part of the reason why I had some of these figures, and these are just a couple of examples, by the way, is mainly because of the support of the community. The community has helped me out so much. As a matter of fact, I'm about to do an unboxing video, and that'll be another example of the community just being very kind, very helpful, you know. So yeah, I'm really glad that I have these figures here. And also, you know, I shared it previously, and if you're really paying attention, you know the music in the background. I also was able to get Notorious B.I.G. thanks to the help of a community member who allowed me to basically, it was essentially a trade, but he allowed me to trade figures to him over time to basically pay him back for this high value figure. So it's really cool to have Notorious B.I.G. in my collection. You know, of course, I still don't have everything I want, but I have one of the main figures I was hoping to get into my collection, and that's really awesome, you know. So again, I try to keep that glass half full mentality. Now, especially if you're new to my channel, I do want to point out why I first got into collecting. Some of you may know this already, but I was having anxiety issues and depression issues, and these are things that I think tend to be ongoing issues. They're still things that I struggle with at times, but collecting has helped me with this a lot. I mean, a whole lot. So this is why I say, even though some people may look at Pops and say you don't need any of that, I actually do need collecting. Collecting actually does help me a lot to deal with anxiety and depression. It's something that keeps me active. It's something that keeps me social. It really does matter. It has value to it. So some people look at Pops, all they see is, vinyl figures. I see a lot more, and it's something that, if it brings happiness to me, that's really all that matters. Anybody else's opinion doesn't really matter. As long as it's making me happy, that's really what matters, and it's not hurting anybody else. That's all there is to it. So along with that, though, I do want to take this opportunity to address the notice that I have been putting lately at the beginning of Funko News videos. And this really ties into my collecting philosophy, because I did not get into collecting to stress. I got into collecting for something that is fun, something that's going to help me stay social and all of that, something that basically makes me happy. So for collectors that stress and try to pass along their stress, I just can't deal with it. That's really what this notice is about. Some people have been offended by the notice and said things about it, but I think you would only be offended by this if something I said here applies to you. And it's not like I'm being rude within this. Somebody actually said that they thought this notice was rude, or me pointing to them to this notice was rude, but I'm sorry, the notice is here for a reason. It's because like I said, I've had anxiety issues. It's something I've dealt with over the past couple of years, and I refuse to take something that I got into to avoid stress and allow other people to make it stressful for me. So that's what this notice is about. This notice is really about me. It's not about the community so much. It's really about me avoiding stress, because there are some collectors that do stress quite a bit. And I know it's coming with San Diego Comic-Con. There are going to be some people that stress, and people that will ask me questions repeatedly, and people that try to private message me and all this and that. And I'm gonna have to, I hate to say this, but I know I'm gonna have to block a lot of people around this time of San Diego Comic-Con, because like I said, I just cannot allow people to try to put that stress on me. I already do, I think, a pretty good job of providing information for the community as much as I can, and I do help out other collectors, sometimes behind the scenes, sometimes it's public trades that we may do on YouTube, whatever it is. But I really do my part to try to help out other collectors, because collectors have helped me out so much. But I just cannot allow people to make me stress, when it comes to collecting. So I think that pretty well sums up my collecting philosophy, things that I keep in mind when it comes to collecting. And yes, I am excited about San Diego Comic-Con, and there are rumors of BIG Pops on the way, including a common figure of him possibly rocking either a Bad Boy jersey or a Bad Boy shirt, and then also possibly a convention exclusive of him rocking the crown. And of course, I'm gonna go for those, but if I miss out on them, guess what? Can't have it all. Don't need it all. I won't stress over that. I'm already very fortunate to have a Notorious B.I.G. Pop already. And even for characters that aren't, or people that are not already represented in my collection, if I miss out on them, I'm not going to stress over that, because I already feel blessed with the things that I do have. So yeah, that, like I said, that pretty much sums up my philosophy, and I definitely want to hear yours. What are some things that you keep in mind when it comes to collecting, especially when you're actively hunting? What are some things that you keep in mind? Please share that down in the comments, and also make sure that you drop a like on this video as well. That's definitely appreciated. But yeah, again, I hope everybody enjoyed this video. Of course, more Soapbox videos are on the way, because remember, this channel is Franklyn McInnis, not Funko News. Funko News is a part of this channel, not all of this channel though. So yeah, I'm gonna keep the Soapbox series rolling. I will continue to be that outspoken, blunt person that I've always been, so yeah, those of you that are into the Soapbox videos, definitely look forward to more of these. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this video. You all take care, and I will talk to you all again real soon.